Hello, welcome to a virtual tour of the Sussex County Master Gardener's demonstration garden. We're not working in the garden right now because of the virus, and it's not open to the public for the same reason. But we have lots of pictures, information, and techniques we want to share with you. So I hope you enjoy this tour and enjoy our garden.
Thanks, Linda. So our first picture here is an overall shot of our demonstration garden. You know, we're so proud of it. We have over 20 some different individual gardens within this almost 1 acre garden, and it is behind our offices, so many people still haven't discovered it. So we hope when we can invite you back that you'll come in and take a look, because it's wonderful. The biggest thing we wanted to point out is our accessible pathway, which you can see goes around the main part of the garden, so you should be able to access a lot of different areas. This has really enhanced our ability to host people to come in. This is a great pathway for strollers, walkers, wheelchairs, and just nice footing to be able to walk around and experience the garden. So we hope you are able to come out and join us with that. But that has been a great way for us to enhance and reach people that we were not able to do before. So we're really proud of that. And, you know, it's, again, Linda said this is a wonderful demonstration garden. And the purpose of this garden is for us to try new things, also be able to demonstrate what plants do well here in Delaware. For anybody who may be new to our state, we have a whole section on our website called New to Delaware with a lot of great general gardening information. But this also gives people a place to come see plants in the landscape to know what they may want to try in their own yard. So Linda, we've talked a little bit about the different areas, and this is our mixed border.
Yes, the mixed border is a combination of annuals and perennials. It has a pathway through it, so you can really look at the plants up close and personal. The mailbox in the middle of this picture is actually a bee hotel, so that native bees can nest in there and lay their eggs. The plant material really collects a lot of bees, butterflies, and hummingbirds in the Monarda that's in that picture.
Yeah. It's a great place to take pictures.
This is the other side of the border. You can still see some of the Monarda, but you see some phlox here. It's just a wonderful, wonderful explosion of color.
And the great thing is the perennials that you see there come back year after year.
Yes. Another close-up with the phlox and the balloon flowers that are in the border.
And another section of our garden is our patio area. We love this because we've been able to stage and decorate this area to give each year something new for us, to our gardeners and visitors, to look at and experience, and maybe it's something they might like to try. This particular one was in 2018, and we called this Backyard Bliss. Looks like a great place to relax. You can see we have a seating area with a end table, a little coffee table there that looks like we could enjoy some food and beverages. I love the fact that you have a wooden fence that's then softened by our ornamental grasses. We have ferns hanging and containers that all provide interest in the same area. This was last year. We entitled this Fiesta, and you can see we completely different feel. Wonderful accents throughout the garden. We've got some nice flavored water there for people to enjoy, a seating area, and then just a different way of decorating depending on your interests. But that's a lovely place to sit and talk and enjoy. Here's just a close-up of some of the things that we've decorated with, the different types of patio pots filled with plants, a beautiful bird bath, and we even, our shed, as a backdrop, we even decorated that. And as you can see in most gardens, we can think of them as garden rooms. We have a large container here that actually has a miniature garden. We have a nice sitting area here, but a great way to think about your yard and or landscape is maybe by rooms. And we have information about that as well. This is a neat place. This is a Hypertufa Fountain. I actually made this in one of our Master Gardener classes, so I'm putting a little promo in there. You never know what Master Gardeners, how they're so creative. I've learned so much from them. But this was actually done with concrete mixture and a beach towel. And I actually put a fountain inside of this and can use this as a great interest in my own yard. But this is, again, those small little nooks and crannies you can sit things in as interest as visitors to you have visitors to your garden. So I hope if you're not part of our mailing list, I hope you'll join, because you never know what neat class we'll be doing. In 2017, we actually partnered with the Delaware Breast Cancer Coalition. This was a fall open house that we had, and you can see our theme was Think Pink. I always love to point out, because one of our Master Gardeners did this lovely, to your right, blue container for us. And that's because most people don't realize that 1% of breast cancer, people who have breast cancer, are actually men. So we wanted people to remember that they need to be aware of that as well. But this was a great day and a great way that we could just splash pink everywhere. This is our last photo of that patio area, and this was just last fall. We had a fall festival, and again, just a nice little seating area and place to enjoy as our weather changes, but always being able to get outside whenever we can. It's a wonderful place to relax and enjoy. And so, Linda, I think you're going to talk about our shade garden and about our butterfly garden.
Yes, this long view has on the left our butterfly garden, and on the right with the big leaf, that's the entrance to our shade garden. The butterfly garden is really designed to attract as many butterflies as possible and has some of their favorite plants in it, like phlox and coneflowers. And we attract many butterflies as we are considered a monarch way station, which means we have plants that they particularly like. In another part of our garden, we have things that their caterpillars like.
The one thing I love about this, for people who aren't as familiar, what we can see here in Delaware, is that we have nice little colored pictures of the different butterflies that are attracted to this area of the garden, which is nice too, to learn about that.
And this is our state butterfly. It's the Tagger swallowtail butterfly, and he is a regular visitor to our garden. We see them often. This is the shade garden. As you can see, it's constructed with panels that provide shade over and to the side, because we didn't have a lot of shade in the garden years ago. The pathway leads you through this structure, and you can see things like hostas all along the path. This is towards the end of the shade garden. It's a really cute little seating area with this little yellow bench that kind of beckons you to just sit down and look around.
And this, I love this because you also are near a little pond, and so you can hear water from the waterfall. It's just a nice relaxing area to sit out of the sun.
This is the end of the shade garden, or the exit of it. It's a very shady place, a very pretty place. We have native plants that like shade in here. But as you can notice, there wasn't a lot along the fence. Now, this is a view of the same area where we have decorated and put a little table out so that you can sit and just enjoy the place. This is the entrance to the children's garden. We're not going to go through the children's garden on this tour, because we talk about it and go through it on the section of today's events that are fun in the garden for children. Our compost area is towards the back. We use a 3-bin system for our primary composting, that you put the raw materials on one side, you move them, and then the other end is when it's finished. In addition to this method, though, we do have some other options that we can demonstrate for you how they work, including tumblers and just piles, because there's many ways that you can do composting, and you just pick out, we can show you how to pick out what works best for you. Next to the compost area is the small garden with a pathway through it. That's native plants that like sun. The one there in the front is Joe Pye weed.
So that looks pretty tall, Linda. So there are different types of Joe Pye, a very large that will needs lots of space, and then little Joe, which is a little better for enclosed or small areas.
Right. This is the very back of the garden. It's a very shady area with that tree. The striped tent in the back is where we often held workshops during nice weather. And hopefully we will be back next year to do that again.
So we're going to go from our tent area, which looks out over our trellis garden here, which is part of our larger vegetable garden. And Maureen's going to tell us a little bit more about that because there is a lot going on in that vegetable area each year.
The vegetable garden is unique among the various rooms in our overall demonstration garden because it's one of the few areas that has to be restarted each year. We don't have too many perennial vegetables, so we get a fresh start each spring. And the trellis area is one of the 3 types of areas, including clematis, which are on the 2 outer trellises. And you can see here there are a couple of varieties along with some columbine and a few other plantings at the foot because clematis like cool feet.
And this is just a beautiful shot of one of the gorgeous varieties we have.
They're all nicely labeled. Another area we gave one of the trellises to is the Lasagna Garden, which teaches you how to build up layers with things like cut grass, cardboard boxes, different types of manures so that you plant directly into this and you get a head start on wonderful soil by using the Lasagna Garden. We have instructions on how to build a lasagna garden as well as a workshop every now and then. This is an overall view of the beds of the vegetable garden. We have beds, containers, and the trellis area that we use to grow vegetables. And we plant fairly common vegetables that most people enjoy: cucumbers, tomatoes, onions, potatoes, peppers. And we also plant watermelon with seeds because we need the seeds for our seed spitting contest annually.
And Maureen, I love this because a lot of people want to grow watermelons, and you can see they need a lot of area to grow for vining. I also love how you have different containers and how vegetables can be grown in containers. And there's a raised bed in the back there with braces and hoops that we could add some plastic over to extend the season. So there's a lot of wonderful information here in our vegetable garden. We have a lot of great gardeners.
Here's some of the varieties of squashes and lettuces. We start as early as we can so we can take advantage of the cool weather crops, and as the season progresses we add in the plants that like warmer soils. And our produce does go to the food basket, so we have lots of varieties. As you can see here, we have herbs and we have tomatoes and potatoes and peppers, and we try to take advantage of the large area so that we can plant the good variety that people will like.
And I love the fact that we can encourage others and show them how to grow things, and if they have extras they can certainly donate them to a local food pantry here in the state of Delaware to help others.
Here's another view of the vegetable garden. You can see we have corn on the right, and that's one section that we've identified as our Three Sisters garden. The school children come, and we're able to teach them about some of the earliest planting methods of our Native Americans who used the Three Sisters, corn, beans, and squash, in their gardening many years ago. And the 3 plants support one another and enrich the growing seasons of each of them.
This is another great shot that how in our garden we've tried to incorporate different things. You can see another bee hotel to your right on a hanger, and then you can see the lovely pots that master gardeners claim a pot and adopt that, or a hanging basket, and do some kind of great beautiful creation each year. So you never know what's going to be in there. That's why I love it.
We have these marigolds because once upon a time we had some nematodes in this bed, and African and French marigolds will help retard the growth of spread of nematodes, which are harmful to the roots of especially the root crop plants. And this year we got creative and made a design, but we outline many of our beds. The school children outline many of our beds with marigolds when they come to visit.
So I take it we should eat our veggies.
Absolutely.
So Linda, I think you were going to say something about this particular container.
Yes, this particular container is one of my very favorites. I love the orange and green of the leaves. The small orangey looking plants are coleus, but the large green leaves are sweet potato vine,
Yeah.
which makes a lovely container.
And really for anybody, you can, depending on what you need, full sun, maybe shade, but I love this one is with its succulents.
Yes. You can put almost any kind of plant in a container. And we have lots of information on doing container gardening that we can share.
And the other thing I'll point out is you can see the small labels here. One of the great things about our demonstration garden is we try to label as much as possible so that you can take notes. If it's something you like, you can take a picture with your camera or just write down a specific type plant or even variety that may be of interest to you. So it's another way of getting that information out there.
This is a bee hotel, similar to the mailbox in the earlier slide, on a grander scale. And we've had a lot of success with native bees making nests in here, and that's where they have their young. They don't particularly live there, but they lay their eggs there and their young hatch out of these things. We've been very conscious about attracting native bees and providing habitat for them, since they're such an important part of the pollinators that we need for our crops.
So here's a great shot of the various types of raised beds that we have in our vegetable garden. And Master Gardener Bob Williams is going to talk to you a little bit about the different types and why you would use certain ones and others that you may have interest in.
Hi there. The table garden is kind of our introduction to raised beds. The table garden is a very simple garden, as you can see. It is primarily designed for somebody who has maybe limited capabilities. It works great for somebody to roll a wheelchair up to, or put a stool next to it and sit and garden. The raised bed itself, you can grow almost anything. You fill it with potting soil. You can grow herbs and different types of spices. You can grow flowers. You could even grow like patio tomatoes and pepper plants. It's so convenient because it's very portable. As you can see, pick it up and move it. And I want to tell you a quick story about the raised bed, if I may, or about the table garden, if I may. Many, many years ago, when we first started our Garden Smart Garden Easy program, probably 10, 12 years ago, I got a phone call, probably in October. And the man said, "You don't remember me, I'm sure." He said, "But I picked up plans on how to build a table garden." I came home and I built one for my mother. My mother's been in a wheelchair. She's been very depressed. She doesn't like to do anything. I thought maybe she'd like to garden. So I built a table garden. We put it on the back deck. And now when I come home from work, my mother tells me about she weeded her table garden today. She planted some new herbs. And the other day when I came home, he said, my mother was in the kitchen with my wife cooking with the herbs she grew in her table garden. He said, "Mr. Williams, you saved my mom's life." That's how important gardening is. Oh, well, there's a table garden. See, we even let the birds have a table garden.
I think there might even be a little frog peeking out at us in there.
There you go. The raised beds come in all different sizes and shapes. You're looking at in the distance of one it's waist high. That means you can walk around the whole bed. You don't have to bend over. And there again, you can grow anything you like in it. There's a nice bed, probably about 24, 25 inches high, seats along the side. You can actually just sit on the seat. You can reach into the raised bed. And there again, you can grow anything from carrots to tomatoes. It just makes it so convenient. There's the other, they call it a tall box. again, it's waist high. There's a raised bed here. This is probably one of the oldest raised beds in the garden. It's probably 15, 20 years old. You can see how well they stand up. This one's a sensory garden. We grow herbs, some spices, and some really bright colored flowers. We have some wind chimes hanging on a post in the middle. It just gives a nice approach to gardening. It gives everybody a chance to enjoy gardening. Quick story: old friend of mine who's a retired master gardener had a gorgeous garden in his house, and we were sitting on his back deck one day, and he says, he says, with this degeneration, he says, I can't even see my garden from here anymore. He said, but doesn't it smell good?
So Bob, I see some wind chimes up there. Why would you put those up there?
Well, there again, this is a sensory garden, and the wind chimes make a nice, pleasant sound in the garden. The wind chimes, along with the bright colored flowers and the herbs, give everybody that has any kind of limitations of sense, of sight or smell or hearing, it gives them the opportunity to get the joys of gardening and the joys of the outdoors.
That's so neat. I love it. This is a great raised bed also.
Yeah, this is a nice one. Cinder block. Look at the size of the boards on the seats of that bed. This actually garden was made by Wes Beers, who we've just recently lost. This is probably one of Wes's last projects he did in the garden, and you can just see what a fine job he did. But look how nice that garden looks, and look how comfortable. My God, you can sit down and relax. Even take a nap next to your garden if you like.
I love it. I think this is our perennial plant of the year. So this has multiple perennial plants that do very well here in Delaware. But yeah, Wes was wonderful and such a great help in building things for our garden. And I know Lyndall mentioned something he helped us with too, but I would love to sit and garden there. Very comfortable.
This is our Caterpillar Cafe. We raise plants here that specific caterpillars like to eat. Now, we're raising plants for caterpillars that turn into butterflies in particular. And the next slide has two of our favorite caterpillars that we see in our garden. The one with the spots is the black swallowtail, and it likes carrot plants and plants in the carrot family. And this is fennel. The one on the right is the famous Monarch Butterfly. They like milkweed, and they like to go to Mexico in the winter and not stay in our cold climate. The Caterpillar Cafe is a favorite with kids. We always have a hunt when they come for caterpillar or butterfly eggs.
And some people have never seen a butterfly egg before, so it's really cool to be able to show people that. And I love this because our Caterpillar Cafe is just for the caterpillars. And if we want butterflies, in our garden, we definitely need to have a food supply for them. So it's a great way of setting that aside for them. Our next section here is our meadow. This is a fairly new, probably third year that we've had this. And this was as a result of people wanting to reduce mowing, possibly having an area that is a community-wide area. They want to reduce input. So what are some of the ways that we could make it a lovely place to have walking trails, but also a place that we can reduce mow and provide habitat for insects and butterflies and other pollinators. So what we did was we sectioned this off, and you can see that plants here in the very front were ones that we specifically chose. The rest are seed mixes. And the tall one on the left in the back is actually a nice method that we use for larger areas where we're using sawdust as a medium to help hold the moisture and also for the seeds to germinate. And so that is used widely by the state and other large areas. This you can see a close up. The garden on your right was actually a special design, and it looks great. It has things that you'll see all throughout the summer and into fall. And you can see that many of these have wildflowers in them, but people have to remember that as a meadow, It is one of those things to expect it to change over time. Sometimes warm season grasses will take over. You'll have those beautiful perennials showing early, and then there's, again, you would mow early in the season in March and then mow again in near Father's Day. But this is a great demonstration for people to come and take a look. Even for small areas, you can still have a meadow. Here's just a shot of golden aster that we have in one of our sections out there. And next to that is a beautiful hydrangea variety trial that Linda's going to talk a little bit about.
Yes, this trial has a number of different types of hydrangeas in it, including the mop heads that we're all used to, plus things like lace cap and oak leaf hydrangeas. We have a lot of different varieties. We have actually some reblooming one, or endless summer. We also are going to have a workshop in August this year to talk about hydrangeas in more detail. So keep an eye out to register for that workshop. This is a beverage stand that was built in our shady area. It was built by West Beers, who we had talked about earlier. And it's a very easy construction with just some blocks and a wooden plank pretty much. But it gave us a nice entertainment area or rest area for our different events. Next to this is the seating area that we show here. It has a table and chairs and has a longer bench. Nice place to hang out.
Yeah, it looks like you could play checkers or chess, something, just a nice fun thing to do outside with nature.
This is the entrance to a garden we call Garden Under the Trees. It's a very shady area. It actually has some small shade trees like a redbud in it, but it's under a larger story tree, a Australian willow, I believe it is. And consequently, things that like shade, like hostas, do well here. It was decorated and maintained by one of our master gardeners, who actually, for one of our events, painted pots to look like toadstools, and the kids just loved them. The bench in the back was donated by one of our classes. Another nice area to sit in the garden. In that garden is this rhododendron, and probably one of the prettiest flowers we have. We have a trial of different types of azaleas, including the newer azaleas that rebloom. What we have found in this garden is that many of our azaleas do really well here, but we have a few azaleas that the rabbits really like to eat, and they were called gumbo. So if you have a rabbit problem, that might not be the variety of azaleas you want in your garden. This is the entrance to the shady native plant garden. It's a vine, and it is a Carolina jasmine. It's a beautiful plant. When it was sitting out there with the sun on it, it just glowed, and you could see it from all the way across the garden.
And it's one that's been a repeat performer every year, every spring. Looks great.
This is in the back of our garden. It is a section that houses small fruits. There are a number of small fruits that do well here in Delaware, including raspberries and blackberries. We have some figs in here, strawberries, which everybody loves strawberries. And the one plant in the middle is one of my favorite plants. It's a prickly pear cactus, the only cactus that really likes living in our state. And it has these little fruits on it that make excellent jelly. And there are some of our blackberries getting ready. And we all like to stand back there and munch on the blackberries as soon as they get ripe. The last section on our tour is the dry shade garden. This was an area that had dogwoods in it, and we turned it in, or one of the master gardeners, I should say, turned it into a dry shade garden, including all kinds of things like hostas and shade-loving plants. And it's really an interesting place to visit, and it's shady and cooler to sit in.
It's a great place to see plants that if you don't have irrigation, many of us know here, you may not have that and it gets dry, but it's amazing what will live in this area. in the shade. So if you have those conditions, come visit when we're open again, and I'm sure you'll find things that you would love to add to your garden.
This ends our garden tour, and we hope you stay tuned for our next section, which is a tour of some of the Master Gardeners' gardens, since they've been home more this summer, and see what they're up to.